checking out the Sober Fix podcast, where we talk about addiction and living life sober, one day at a time. If you like what you hear, go ahead and follow us. And if you get some time, check out our Instagram page at the Sober Fix podcast, and also our YouTube and TikTok at the Sober Fix. Hope you enjoy the episode. Hey, what is up, guys? It's Drew from the Sober Fix podcast. We are here with another episode. We've got a great guest on today. We've got Recovery John. Recovery John, I've been watching his videos on TikTok. I think I have like 17,000 likes on TikTok, and Recovery John has freaking 2 million, man. What's up, John? Good to see you, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. I'm happy to be on tonight.
Yeah, man. I want to kind of start at the beginning. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Brookfield, Connecticut. Probably like an hour from New York City, 45 minutes.
That's awesome, man. And when did you was it alcohol first? I know for me, I started off with alcohol, weed, quickly found ecstasy, cocaine, and it just kind of escalated from there. Where did your kind of addiction start?
Yeah, so definitely started with alcohol, gateway drug, some weed. And I was actually like a big baseball player and like idolized Derek Jeter, clean cut, hated drugs, hated addicts. Very ironic where now people call me Recovery John, but known for addiction. But yeah, really quickly, weed. And once I did weed, I graduated in '08 from high school. So that was really the opiate epidemic. So I got an Oxycontin and it just rolled from there to heroin, cocaine, crack, alcohol, everything.
Yeah, man, I graduated in '06, and quickly after, I was someone who started late. So I started drinking and smoking pot consistently at 17. And I hear sometimes in the rooms of recovery, people started a lot earlier than that. But I remember that Oxycontin, man. Everything that I tried before the Oxycontin, I was able to put aside. Like I did ecstasy, I'm like, oh, this is great, and I overdid it a little bit. I'd do it on the weekends, and I'd feel like shit for a month after, and things like that. But when I found the Oxycontin, man, it was bad. What was that, something that you were hooked on right away when you first tried it?
Yeah, same here. I mean, I definitely drank a little too much, pissed off my friends because I'd cause a scene. Like smoking, I was never a big weed person, but the second I did Oxycontin, it took my life over. I remember driving down our main street here, and it was about 2 days later after I ever tried it. That was the first real hard drug I tried, and subconsciously, a thought just came: I should call and get more. And I remember getting nauseous. Like that's not good. Like where'd that come from? And it was kind of a fork in the road moment, and I decided to make the call, and there goes the next 10 years.
Oh, so it was 10 years, huh?
Yeah, from about 18 to 28 was the last time I used opiate, 7 years ago, I think.
Man, yeah, I was like 14 years total with some breaks in between. How long did it take before things started to get pretty bad with the opiates?
Quickly, I mean, I jumped right into it. They had me physically, and that just brought on the lies, acting like a scumbag, doing addict stuff, separating from my brother, my parents, my high school friends that were like athletes and good kids. And really quickly, actually I ended up getting arrested for the first time. I had to be, I don't know if I was a minor, I was 17 or 18. And it was this girl, just a dumb drug stuff. Like I actually didn't do anything wrong that one time, but I was driving a girl to take out money from her mom's ATM card. She ended up lying to her mom about how much she took. And that ended up turning back, and her mom called the cops, and they ended up reviewing footage. And I was just giving her a ride, and I was in there buying cigarettes, and she was hitting the ATM, and they thought I was an accomplice. So really quickly, I should have noticed that like this lifestyle, even if I'm not doing something wrong, it's gonna draw me into trouble, and I still just didn't get it, and I kept doing it.
Yeah, that's a great point, man. It seemed like I had, whenever I would pick up the stuff, and even no matter what substance, but especially the opiates, once I started on that, it just felt as if I had this black cloud following me. I just seemed to have what I thought was the worst luck. I didn't realize at the time that I was putting myself in that position, but So you end up getting arrested for the first time. What happens after that? Are you on probation after that?
No, so that one I got lucky. But like I said, I really didn't do anything wrong. And the mom, I saw the mom when I was picking her up, and she was like, "Thanks for giving her a ride." She just didn't know this girl's taking out hundreds and hundreds of dollars
Okay.
each time. So the mom actually wrote a letter to the court saying like, "No, I authorized him giving her a ride. He didn't know she was doing it," and they dropped the charges.
Oh, well, that's cool.
Yeah, so I got that one time I got lucky, but still, I actually had a good bank teller job and high paying, and I got fired because it was the front page of the paper that for credit card theft I got arrested and had to turn myself in. So still did damage.
Oh, man. So you didn't totally get off then. You still had a bunch of stuff to deal with because of that.
Yeah, and I had to explain to my parents why am I driving a girl around and stealing money for drugs. Like it did the damage, you know.
Yeah, man. And so was that the start of it? Did you have any issues like quickly after that, or were you able to go some time without kind of fly under the radar a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, from there, I didn't get arrested for say for a couple more years. I ended up getting arrested 7 times, but the bullshit just followed. You know, fighting with my dad. My dad's no bullshit type of guy. He'd been around, not that, but like you know how you can get over on your mom. Usually, the dad always like is I'm not stupid. I was a guy. I know what you're doing, or something like that. So I butt heads with him a lot. School, bad grades, dropped out of college in the first class I ever went to because I ended up getting hurt, not playing baseball, not trying to get a scholarship, becoming an addict and a dealer, and you know, dropping out of there. All my friends move on to college, and I'm delivering pizzas and working at a restaurant, you know, through my 20s while they're getting degrees, going to college, getting married, and moving on with their life. You know.
Yeah, man. I could totally relate to that. It's weird because when I was younger and like I talked about, I started at 17. You know, when I was 17, 18, 19, maybe 20, and I'm getting high, a lot of my friends that were doing well, that weren't doing the drugs, they weren't that much further ahead of me yet because they were maybe going to college. You know, they were doing stuff to better their life, but that big gap hadn't happened yet, you know, and all of a sudden as time went on, it's exactly like you just mentioned. People are getting married, they're getting careers, they're getting good jobs, they're starting to make good money, they're buying houses, they're having kids, and I would run into them at like the grocery store or something, and I never had anything good to say, you know. I worked at a pizza place too. Was it kind of like that for you where you started to realize, okay, like I'm starting to fall behind in life a little bit.
Yeah, I saw the touches in college years because, like, yeah, like you said, like they weren't getting married yet, but they're going to college and like, what are you doing? And I'm like, or their parents are like, what are you up to? And I'm like, delivering pizzas or waitering or bartending. Um, also from a small town, so I got connected with you know moving stuff around and selling drugs a lot. You know, in a small town, so people knew what I was doing, so I was kind of shunned from all those families. You know, that kind of see me, and I had to keep my head down. They saw the people I was with. It was very obvious I wasn't up to good things. And then yeah, that's what pushed me at the end. A big push was like when people started getting engaged. I didn't get invited to weddings, seeing people in public, like you know, you're 27, 28. They're now buying their homes and stuff. And it's like, what are you doing? It's like, oh, I just got back from rehab, just got arrested for the sixth time. Like, I have nothing good to say. You know what I mean? So I get that a lot.
Yeah, man. And when you got arrested after the first time, was it all pretty much drug related stuff?
For the most part, I never got. I used to pride myself. I thought I was like a smart guy, like a slick cat. I used to. I never got arrested until later on. They always say the yets in sobriety, or addiction. So I would like argue my parents, and they kind of knew what I was doing. They're like, "You're gonna get caught up." I was like, "I know what I'm doing. I've never been caught with drugs. I've never been arrested on possession," um, which was impressive. I mean, after 5, 7 years of trafficking, selling, I never got caught. But those yets will always catch you. You know, the first one was an assault. It was a drunken fight at a bar. I decided to throw a chair through some. I chased these kids into a condominium. They ran into the back door, so I threw a chair through a glass door and chased them in there. Um, Driving without suspended license, with a suspended license, no registration. Dumb stuff at first, and then at the end, things just God, I really got cocky with the Yets, and God humbled me fast. I got arrested like 4 times in 2 years. DUI, parked in front of my parents' house, not even that drunk. Um, and yeah, probably 3 possession arrests, with, like, open containers, suspended license, and then I never went to court because I didn't really care. So, I the last time I got arrested was probably 2017, and I got arrested in New York, not far from, like, 20 minutes here from here, and, they had bench warrants for me for my last 2 arrests in Connecticut and New York, and I got arrested actually. This is why I say, like, God will play you if you try to play him. I got arrested, and basically, if you parked my car there 2 years ago in the same exact spot with the same drugs, the same alcohol, and the same girls, um, so those cops weren't too happy. They're like, "We're literally just replaying what happened 2 years ago, and you've yet to go to court, and now you're doing the same thing," and literally, like, my tires would probably line up. It was the same exact spot on the road. So,
Damn, man.
yeah, I was in they brought in the drug agency quick and put me in an unmarked car and took me away, and, yeah, that wasn't smart.
Shoot. And so when you got taken into custody, were you having to cold turkey detox off the opiates each time?
Yeah, that night specifically sucked because I was at that point, the I was deep in the heroin game. My body was extremely, addicted to it, but I was also drinking and doing blow. So I got caught at, like, 2 in the morning, so by 4 in the morning, I was like, when you're coming off cocaine, you got that headache, like, I'm kinda sobering up from the alcohol. It was terrible. I started to detox and, like, shiver off the heroin, and that was one of those moments you talked about. I just, like, saw all my friends' lives, and even my younger brother at the time was, like, had his HVAC degree, making money, and I'm like, here I am on a Saturday morning in Brewster County Jail, New York, coming off 3 drugs, starting to detox, and they're getting me an inmate number because 'cause I'm looking at, like, at least 4 years. It was just like I remember just looking around, like, I purposely looked around. I was like, "What are you doing? You're in a jail cell, dude. Like, what did you do to your life?" You know?
Yeah, it's kind of those you hear it a lot in the recovery rooms, those kind of moments of clarity. Because I remember when I was out there running and gunning, it was all fun and games, selling drugs, making fast money, doing the blow, the alcohol, everything. I mean, I loved it. I loved the effect produced by it.
Yeah.
I just absolutely loved how it felt, and I felt invincible. And a lot of things would happen to me, and I would just kind of brush them off. Oh, whatever, And people would talk about the yets, and I'd say, ah, no, I'm good, I'm good. And then all of a sudden, something like getting arrested would happen. And as you're talking about that, sitting in the cell, looking around, facing the 4 years, I had similar experiences like that where it would all kind of hit me. And I'd say, I'd be kind of saying to myself, man, like, this isn't quite fun anymore. Like, this is a whole nother ball game, where you just start to realize, oh, my life's kind of passing me before my eyes, and this isn't a good situation. So where did
Yeah.
you go from there? You're in the jail cell, you're having that moment of clarity. How long before you got out of there?
So, it actually was a big, I like to say God moment. So I actually had, like, 3 grand on me, at the time, and I was like they took me to a special, like, 5 a.m. meeting with the judge. They got him out of his home and met me because I had so many warrants. They didn't know, like, what to do with me, how to set bail. So he had a bail hearing with me, like, 5 a.m. on a Saturday in his
Wow.
pajamas, and, he was pretty pissed, and whatever they said it at, it was 2 grand cash, and I was like, "Perfect, I got that," like, in my head, I'm like, "I can do this, I don't gotta call." I was living at home still like an idiot, 27 years old. I was like, "I don't have to call my parents because that's what I really don't want. I'll deal with all this. I don't wanna face
Yeah.
my parents, like, I'll go to jail, I'll face thugs, a judge, don't care. I don't wanna face them." And at the same time, though, I knew when I left, I told it was my one friend and 2 girls. They were like, "You drive, John," and I remember looking at them and I was like, "Alright, but I guarantee you I get pulled over." And I didn't laugh, I didn't think it was funny. And they all laughed, and I think they thought I was trying to be, like, hot and tough. And I remember my friend was my best friend through addiction my whole life and childhood. I remember he didn't laugh either. He just looked at me and went like and I kinda wanted to get caught because I knew it would push me to have to get help. It kinda felt like end of the road, like, I'm gonna die or get sober here. So, I know I don't have the balls to ask for help, but if I get arrested, I'll have to tell my parents I'm using again, and they'll send me to rehab. Um, So I'm sitting there and I'm watching this cop. They have like an ATM machine. And he's putting all his money in the ATM machine. And I'm like, what could that be? Like, I never been to jail before. And I never did time before this. I always like skeeted out of everything, or like I knew like how much to carry, so it'd only be a misdemeanor. Like I was kind of like very meticulous with things. Like I knew how to not get time, um, stay away from felonies, certain things. And I said to him, I was like, "Yo, bro, what are you doing?" I said this gut feeling, like what I'm seeing is not good. And he was like, "Oh, I'm putting your money in for commissary." And no one told him that that was enough for my bail and that I could bail out. And I was like, "Oh, bro, I'm using that for bail." And he goes, and you could tell he was nervous. And he's like, "Oh shit." He's like, "I put it in. I gotta send you a check. Like the money don't. This ain't normal ATM, man. Money's not coming out."
Oh
And
no.
then I was like, "Dude," I was like, "Well, how the fuck do I get out of here?" And he's like, "I don't." He had like good the manager and the sergeant, and I was flipping out at that point, calling them names, freaking out. And they calmed me down. They're like, "Bro, we just gotta be honest. Nothing we could do. Like, you call your family if you want, and get someone to bail you out, but we can't get that cash out."
Oh my
And
gosh.
yeah, so I sat there, I was like, "I'm not calling my parents, I'm not calling my parents, just give me my inmate number, my jumpsuit, I'll go in and do my time." And the one promise I made to my parents, even though I was still struggling, I lived there, they wouldn't enable me a lot, at all. They wouldn't give me money, all I could do was really live there, and I always had to work and stuff like that. But my mom's deal was like, "Just so I know you're alive, if you're staying out at nights partying, just text me or call me that, like, I'm not coming home. So at least I know you plan to stay out and you're not dead or something, overdose or something."
Yeah.
And they kept pushing me to call her. I was like, "Let me just call her and tell her I'm here. Like, sooner or later, she's gonna find out." So I call her. Instantly, I hear my dad in the background, like, "Fucking leave him." Like, hang up the phone. I was like, "Well, I just want to let you know I'm here. I don't want you to bail me out. Just let me handle this." And I didn't want to face them, so I hang up. I
You're like,
go,
just keep me here, dude,
yeah,
until they cool
like,
off.
seriously, just go to bed, go back to bed. Don't come here. And they give me like tuberculosis tests. I see them with my inmate suit. And then they come around and they're like, "Oh, Mendonca, your parents called. They're coming to bail you out." And I was like, "Shit, I knew my mom was gonna do that."
Oh really?
And yeah, because she always like my dad always said, "We'll leave you there," but you know, mom's like she probably thought about me being in jail and shit like that. And I don't think anyone has any business being in addiction or jail. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, there's a slim
Yeah.
few, but they're maybe psychopaths or something. Most people are just lost. And yeah, so they picked me up and they answered your question. You know, second I got her car, she goes, "Don't say anything. We're going to talk to your dad. You're either packing your stuff and you're going to be homeless, or we're finding you a rehab within the next couple of days and you're going to get help. And this is your last chance." So I did that and faced a judge, and he threatened me. I had no idea how much time I was facing. He said a minimum of 4 to 6 years, and it was the first time I was honest. I almost started crying in the courtroom, and I was just honest for the first time in front of a whole courtroom of people. I just told them, "Bro, I don't really give a shit. Like, I wish my life was better, but I was like, I'm addicted to heroin. I don't know how to get out. I don't want to live this life. I don't want to be a menace to society. I just want to get help." And he's like, gave me one chance at life, rehab, fines, classes, like a year or two of work. But he's like, "We won't put you in jail if you go to detox and rehab for 40 days." And that was it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. And so what was it like going in, and had you been to rehab before?
Yeah. So at like 23, I went to Florida. I've been to like 5 to 7 of actual different facilities. Connecticut, detox in Rhode Island, but this was the last, and it definitely did the trick.
Yeah, and I know for me, I bounced around to a lot of different treatment centers at first, but it was always because I'd have heat on my back. So it was either
Mhm.
probation was making me go, my parents would kind of sit me down, intervention me, kind of eerily similar situation where I was living at home and they wouldn't enable me. They made me work, but they're basically letting me stay there, but they kind of knew what was going on with me, you know?
Yeah.
And so I'd go to these treatment centers, and I wanted to change, but a lot of times I just wasn't quite ready yet. But when I went to the last one, man, I was done. I could feel it inside of me that it was different, you know. What was it like when you got to that last treatment center?
Yeah, it was honestly same feeling. I could relate a lot. It was just done. Like I think that was either just like my subconscious or God. When I looked at those girls and I was like, I'm gonna get arrested. like I felt good inside. I knew I was gonna get arrested. I don't know why, and it felt like freedom, like help's coming. Like I just didn't want to do it. All my friends were dying. Everyone I knew was dying from opiates. I was just like, I could tell. I snorted it, so whatever it did, doctors never figured out. But the second I would be fine, and the withdrawing, the second I snorted it, my lungs would start wheezing like crazy. Like if I was walking, they'd be crunching. Um, so I just felt like, this can't go on. I can't keep getting lucky for much longer. And just the guilt, shame, remorse, the putting always having to walk with my head down, my parents, my brother, embarrassing them. I was just like, I got to do whatever anyone says. I'm gonna start being open minded, taking suggestions, and just give this a real shot. Before I give up. So.
Yeah, and the treatment center that you went to, was that a rough detox, or did they take care of you there?
The detox was rough, but they at least medicated us. So they put me through a little Suboxone, whatever they give there for 3 days, and still felt kind of shitty. But that one wasn't. The last one wasn't too terrible. I was just doing everything at that point, like
Yeah.
mixing all kinds of stuff. So I think my body was just happy to stop. I don't know. Like, I felt it for probably the first week in actual rehab after detox, but it wasn't as terrible as other ones.
And what was the program like there? Were they introduce you into 12-step stuff, or?
Yeah, so it's actually the first 12-step recovery center in the world. It's called High Watch Recovery Center in Kent, Connecticut, and Bill W. wrote some of the AA book there. It was a drunk farm back in the day.
Wow.
Yeah, so they have a chapel, still old as heck, um, where he used to stay upstairs, and he wrote part of the book. So they're big on the 12 steps. I mean, they give you the option. You could choose AA, NA, but all day you have a step coach, you literally have a big book meeting, a step meeting, and then there's like therapy, yoga, and the other stuff. But they hammered home, and that was good for me because a family friend after all my other rehabs, they tell us when you get home, go to AA. But it was like Miami, Florida ones. It was well, it doesn't matter where it was. It was just random ones we found on Google or something. Um, because now we'll talk about it probably, but that's what I do. I try to help people find their best options for treatment now, um, with what benefits and stuff they have. But they didn't really hammer in a program. So when I got home, I was like, I'm not. What is AA? You know what I mean? Like I'm not doing that. What is NA? I don't. What is all this stuff?
Yeah.
What's a higher power? I'm so confused. So I would hit meetings, but I would sit there and just kind of like in one. I probably wasn't ready either, but it was just higher power, resentment. I was like, I don't know. These people are just witchcraft. I don't know what they're talking about.
It's almost
And
like they're speaking a different language at first when you haven't really figured out the
literally,
program yet.
yeah. It's like reading the Bible and you have no idea what you're reading at first. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, so it was nice to come out and I had kind of an idea. Okay, I need a sponsor. He's gonna work me through these steps. This is the book of it. I'm gonna read it. Like so, it definitely helped. And I just started saying yes to everything. That was the biggest thing. I was so open minded. They said yoga. I thought it was stupid, but I said sure, I'll try it. They said gym. I said yeah, I'll go hit the gym. Like anything they said, like work this step. All right, I went in there and did all my writings and stuff. I really just was like, I got to give this a real shot.
Yeah. And what was that like going through the step process? Was that the first time that you ever like full on got a sponsor or was working with someone and really diving into the 12-step work?
I had a sponsor for a while, all those years. For like, I started probably a 12 steps program. I try not to say which one just because of like anonymity and stuff, but I started it like at 24. My sobriety date now is March 3rd, 2019. But I don't know, like I said, yeah, like just sitting in his car, he did so good for me, but he'd just be like resentments and this and there's like another language, and I don't think I really wanted it either at the time. Like I was like, I kept, how every addict I see in 12 steps, like or anywhere in the world is, they just think they're unique. Like I'm like, I don't need this. Like they're alcoholics. I'm not like that. Although I'm
Yeah.
on the seventh arrest, smoking crack in my car.
Yeah.
I'm just better than them. I don't need to do this the rest of my life. And it was scary because I was young too. I'm like, obviously, we probably got sober around the same age, and I don't know if you can relate, but it was mostly older people. There were some younger, but still, I was probably the youngest at 24, and I was just like, I don't see the rest of my life with me and these old people in a church, and I can never drink again. Like what? So I thought too far ahead. That's why I'm big on one day at a time today. That really failed me. I feel like I closed my ears because I was just like, I don't see myself doing this the rest of my life, you know? But
Yeah, I could totally relate to that. I used to, I mean, the first time I showed up to 12 step stuff or any type of recovery stuff, I was like 18, 19. The room was seemed like they were a bunch of 80-year-olds. They were probably
yeah,
45,
yeah,
50.
exactly.
And
Yeah,
and they're talking about they've been sober for 27 years and stuff like that. And I'm going, 27 years? Why are you still here? And I'm
yeah,
thinking,
exactly.
and I love that you mentioned the just kind of a lot of us addicts or alcoholics seeing ourselves as unique. Oh, it's
Yeah,
yeah, I don't need this. I'll figure this out. I need to maybe just get. I just need to put the drugs down. Everything else will work out. It's funny how a lot of us have some of those similar just thought patterns.
yeah, yeah. It's just I did that for too long, and at some point, I actually made a video I think today about it or yesterday that I should have listened. My first rehab ever was in Miami, Florida, and I actually detoxed before I even got to rehab. I walked in and I was like 22 or 23, skinny little cracked out kid, and there was this big black dude with the word Brooklyn tatted on his neck. He must have been 6'7", big dude. And he looks at me. He's like, "You don't look like you fit in here. It's your first one." I was like, "Yeah, yeah, first one." And he was like, "You want me to tell you something that's save the rest of your life so you don't ever have to come back?" And if I listened, I would have been sober now 10 years or something. I was like, "Sure." He's like, "Whatever you think going forward," he's like, "just do the exact fucking opposite, and you'll have the best life ever." He's like, "Because you're best thinking guy you hear, so start taking suggestions and try different things because you don't know how to run the show." And sure enough, I didn't listen. But now that's how I live my life. You know what I mean? Like, if someone tells me anything, I'm like, I should probably, because you can always try it and say no. I was always quick to try drugs. But someone was like, try praying on your knees. I was like, nope. Like, go to a meeting. Nope. Like, just kept landing me in jail.
It sounds like kind of what you're describing was this last time around. You found the willingness. All of a sudden, it was. And I was the same way. There was so much stuff that I was closed off to. Like I hated coming off of drugs. I hated the way I felt. I looked terrible. I felt terrible mentally, physically, spiritually, just every form of terrible. But I just wasn't willing to do much about it for a long time. I just wasn't, it's like I wanted long-term sobriety. I wanted a new life. I wanted good recovery in my life, but I just wasn't willing to, like you said, just take suggestions, try something new. I think they call it contempt prior to investigation. It was, if it wasn't my idea or I didn't come up with it, I don't need to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
So you go to the rehab, you get out, and what's life like in early sobriety outside of rehab?
When I came out of rehab, it was destroyed. I try to be open about this so people understand that I'm just getting sober from a real rough addiction. Like I said, I still was facing the warrant, so I had to face court. I had plenty of tickets I had to figure out. I had a suspended license so long that I actually, the day I went to go renew it, I found out I had to start from the beginning. Um, so at 28, I had to go take a driver's test, which I actually ended up going back and getting away from 12 steps for a little after 7 months sobriety and drinking, and actually failed the first test because I was hungover and still drunk and coked out. Um,
Oh, so you had
so
one
I,
relapse?
Well, I've had thousands, but that after that last rehab, that was my only relapse. I've been sober since 2019 now.
Oh, that's great, man. Good for
Yeah, but
you.
I mean, from 23 to 28 was a relapse.
Yeah.
Ongoing, yeah, every other
Yeah.
day relapse. But that was yeah, and that went for 6 months. But I finally hit ahead on that. It was just like never went back to the opiates, but that was drinking coke, drinking, trying to prove I wasn't an alcoholic, just an
Oh
addict.
man, I make so many videos about that, man, of just
Oh, it's you see it in so many people, man.
Oh, I would put my big thing was I'm not touching opiates again, and I would
Yeah.
convince myself that's what gets me locked up. That's what makes me feel like shit. That's what makes me make terrible decisions. That's what brings my life just straight to the ground. I just got to stay off that stuff, and then I could be normal. I could drink. I could smoke weed, be chill, just be like everyone else. Oh man, it just never worked
Never.
out that way. It just never worked out.
My biggest thing, like my parents used to laugh at me because I'd be like, "Well, I never really drank through my whole. I never drank like in high school." And then like, yeah, it's because I was in the corner of my car smoking a crack pipe and snorting dope. It's like I didn't really have time to go drink with my friends, you know.
Yeah,
So I proved very hard that I was an alcoholic and had to face all that. I mean, no job, no career, no college degree, living at my parents at 28, not a dollar to my name, a few debts, thankfully not too big. But yeah, just had no. I was baby John coming to the world. I had to draw my life at that point, step by step, and build it brick by brick. Um, and it was hard, you know. It was hard to even wonder how I was gonna date. I was single. Like, how do I tell girls I'm like 30 days sober and fresh out of rehab? How do I get a job? It just felt like a lot of weight.
yeah, man. It's not easy, and to anyone ever listening to this that's in early sobriety, man, sometimes it's hard to grasp hope sometimes, and you look around and for me I had just wreckage everywhere, and like you're talking about, I had no license at the time. I was in a drug court program. I was getting driven around by my parents at the age of like 29, 30. I couldn't get a job. I had felonies on my record. I just felt like, oh my gosh, how am I ever going to live like this? And at the same time I had all those emotions flooding in, and I just did not know how to deal with them, so as you're explaining that, man, it's putting me right back in there in the
Yeah.
beginning, but how did you just keep putting one foot in front of the other, and is that when you started really adopting the day at a time? I'm going to focus on kind of just getting through today, the next indicated step, the next positive thing I could do today.
Yeah. I mean, it was two things. One was my mom. I remember like one time we were sitting trying to pay a bill, a ticket, and I wasn't very emotional back then, but I just remember I started crying and out of literally anger. And I was like, Mom, I don't think I could do this. I got to relapse. I was like, this is just a wall too big for me. And she started actually with she's like, John, just focus on one. Like, let's play this one ticket. And then, let's put an application, then go put an application in. And tomorrow we'll sit and pay another ticket. And she's like, just give it time. So that started to help. And then, yeah, the one day at a time, I mean, I try to tell people like the 12 steps has taught me things in my sobriety, has taught me things in my everything that trickles into my business, my relationships, dating, friendships, family, writing a number one sobriety book, my pod. I mean, everything is one day at a time. And it sounds so dumb, but Will Smith has like a really famous like interview quote where he talks about building a wall, and his dad always told him like, you can't throw a wall up, you got to do brick by brick. And once I got in one day at a time for sobriety, I mean, grieving my brother that passed, everything one day at a time, and then you start to believe it like faith, because like that did work in sobriety. So then when I started to like write my book and build a business, it did work one day at a time. Because there were days I was pulling my hair out, like, why did I tell everyone I was going to write a book? This is never going to happen. Like, and it was like, dude, just do tonight's work, type tonight, and then like start again tomorrow. Or like we were joking before this on the podcast. Like my podcast was like, if you look it up on YouTube, one of those janky things, and it did not look as cool as yours does right now. But one day at a time, I just knew I had to build that block, and it started to get me connections, and then it built into this whole thing. So that, yeah, definitely, and it just became like one day at a time makes it better, not worse. You go relapse, it's all going to get worse. You know what I mean? You've made it this far, just keep building the blocks, and then you become. I feel like I'm sure you can relate. Like, I mean, there's times, don't get me wrong, I still want to put my hair out. I got a ton on my plate, but you become like Superman. Like you just, I understand that. Like if I've overcome that one day at a time, this little business issue, this little breakup, no matter what it is, like I just put my head down and like you'll get there. And then you pick your head up and you're like, oh, look, that's way back there. It was nothing.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because addiction, it felt like this just the absolute worst thing in the world. And when I finally got through the tough early sobriety, all of a sudden I realized, man, if I can get through that, I could really use this energy that I used to get through that to really smash through a bunch of other stuff, and it kind of like you talked about, it almost becomes this superhero kind of, man, I'm stronger than I thought I was, and I could accomplish a lot more than I thought I could. I want to ask you about the book, Life on Life's Terms, man. How did you come up with the idea? Like, did you always want to write a book, or when did that kind of come to your attention, or become a goal of yours?
Yeah. Well, no. To answer your first question, absolutely not. Trying to swear. A book was nowhere in my future from what I thought. When I got sober, the first book I ever read was Alcoholics Anonymous. In my life, that I read one like from beginning to end, or first 64, like this the main part. You're supposed to. I read bits and pieces, but in school I never read a book. Never read a book. Never wanted to be a writer. Just wanted to be like a baseball player, an athlete. But it all started. Put this the fastest way I can. In COVID, three of my friends died in a week. And around that, I'm sure you can relate. Like the lives we lived, like people just died all the time. But that one really hit me, and I was only a year sober.
Oh, geez.
Within I had 3 days after my 1 year sobriety was the lockdowns. And then 6 months after that, three friends died in a week. So I was just like, what is going on with life? Like I felt the relapse coming, too much stress, grief. I was still trying to tackle everything else. I was in electrical school. And I called my sponsor. I said, what do I do? He said, pray on it, service to others. And I was like, well, dude, service to others. I was speaking in rehabs and stuff, and now I'm stuck in my room. And he's like, pray on it. So I prayed on it, cried, went for my run that I did every day after my lifting, and it just hit me like social media. So at that time, I'd been posting from 2020. So I started posting on Facebook and Instagram just before and afters of me. I'd put a picture of me cracked out and a picture of me flexing. And I would write a whole story like, hey, I'm tired of putting RIPs up. If you need help, just DM me. I was an addict, sober a year and a half, da 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 da. And it became a thing I called Get Lifted with my parents. They helped me come up with that name, like spiritually, mentally, physically. And it took off. That was like an amends to my parents, family, community, God. I felt like I owed the world that because I did so much damage, and I was helping teachers that hated me. I was helping kids from basketball. I didn't even know I had a problem, and so I was already known for what I was doing. But I mean, it wasn't viral. It was only locally. I was just trying to help someone, so I felt better about all my friends that died. Like they didn't die in vain. I'm here. I should do something about it. And I was on step 12 of service. And sadly, a year exactly after that 1 week, the cops were at our front door one morning, and they let me know that my brother that lived 30 minutes away took his own life while fighting with a girl at 4 o'clock in the morning. So he was really proud of me. It was kind of immense to him. He was really proud. He'd come home all the time, be like, this person said you helped their brother. Like, it's so cool. Like, I hear this stuff now instead of like what your drug addict, drug dealing brother doing.
Yeah.
So I was like, how could I kind of, what's the word? Like, do something, dedicate something to him. And I feel like God speaks through people, and everyone started to come up to me, like, you should write a book. You should write a book. And I was like, people said that before, and I thought about it and started to map one out, and it wasn't on my heart. I was like, you know what? God's not telling me to do this right now. And I put it away, and didn't know how to do anything. I was like 6 months sober. So I said, I'm going to just write a book and dedicate it to him and my friends I lost and all the people I hurt in addiction. And, use the chapters as kind of the 12 steps, but as I tell my story and explain how I learned those lessons the hard way or in sobriety in a good way. And yeah, I was dating someone at the time. I said, you got to look into TikTok. I really didn't want to do it. Um, Started to grow a following there. And Recovery John, I changed it to and branded that. And just wrote it myself. I've read 4 self-help books before that to kinda get a gist, like Russell Brand, Jay Shetty, and 2 other ones,
Oh, the
and
Russell
came
Brand one with the steps?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, it gave me an idea, like, I took, like, a little bit from each book and was like, I don't know, I just prayed on it. I feel like God gave me an idea, like, this is how I'm gonna formulate this, and with no education, just formed it out, started writing it. The girl I was dating at the time actually came home one day and she's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Writing my book." And she's like, "You can't be this uneducated." And I was like, "What?" She's like, "Dude, you ever hear of a laptop?" I was like writing it out. She's like, "It's gonna take you like 20 years, bro." And yeah, so it was nice enough of her to help me get a laptop, and I knew how to type at least, but I typed it out, got it edited. She helped, and I had an editor as well. And yeah, just hit me life on life's terms. That's really how my, I've had a lot of, I'd say almost more obstacles in sobriety than I have addiction. Every year has seemed to be a serious thing, and that's sobriety for me, living life on life's terms. So I published it and went #1 on Amazon, new releases in all its genres in December 2023.
Damn, man, that's crazy. That's
Uh,
so cool. How did that feel to not only just, you thought about writing a book when you had 6 months of sobriety and you kind of realize, God's not telling me to do this right now, or maybe it's not the right time, or I'm just kind of working on sobriety or whatever was going on in that time. And then, years later, you're probably feeling more stable. Your life is in a good place. And you thought, man, I'm going to do this. So how did it feel to not only complete the book, but were you then shocked when all of a sudden went to #1 and stuff like that?
yeah, so I'm big into like personal development and self help and just like I love motivation. So during COVID, I built myself up a lot. I read books. I watched motivational stuff. I read up on business. So I was just always taught like shoot for the stars. Why not? Like always believe you can get there, and if you don't, you'll land in the clouds. And so in doing research, it said like when you do Amazon, try to get #1 because or like get on the top 10 list maybe and keep an eye on it because if you do, that's a good marketing tool. Like every book says bestseller and stuff like that. So I told them, I said, watch, I'm gonna get on there. And like Brandon Novak, like some big names were letting theirs out the same week, and I didn't realize that. So I was like, oh shit, there's no chance I get on there. And the weird thing is that I knew I needed a following on TikTok as well of all the people. I knew people would buy it here, but okay, even if it's a couple hundred, that's whatever. I knew I needed to really expand my reach. And I wasn't doing any paid marketing. I was broke as you could be at the time. And I told myself I'm gonna try to get 10,000. That's the goal. Um, by the time I published the book, and 2 days before I published the book, I had 10,000 followers on TikTok.
Wow.
Yeah, so we were sitting that night, my ex, a couple of her friends, and I just happened. We're about to go out and celebrate, and I just hit refresh, and it said #1, and I just started laughing, like yelling, and they're like, "What's wrong?" And I
Wow.
was like, it's more of just the accomplishment. It's not about like ego really. It's like just I almost started crying. I was just thinking about where I came from, like sitting in that jail cell. My parents, my mom crying all the time. My brother. Most importantly, is for him. So like, I remember when I hit publish, I was on Facetime with my parents, and my ex was sitting with me, and I was so excited. I hit enter to hit publish on Amazon, and I just started bawling and weeping. Some mixed emotions, gratitude, sadness that my brother wasn't there to see it, but hoping he sees it now, which I'm sure he does. Anxiety of like, is anyone going to buy this fucking book? Um, Not even for the money. I was like, I'm just gonna look dumb if I sell my mom and dad, and that's it. But yeah, it was cool. Just a test to like you could do anything. That's why I was like cool because now I could tell people like if I could do that, I mean, well, someone could literally make it to the moon with no education.
That's so cool, man. It just shows such a like a transformation, and as you're kind of talking about that moment for you, this is what some of my favorite things about being sober and recovery are just these accomplishments that we end up running into or creating. and they kind of make you just look back and reflect. Like you talked about, looking back on the jail cell and stuff. That happens to me sometimes where I look back and I'm just reminded, because there's some days that are just hard being sober, and you're stressed out and you got a lot going on and you're thinking, man, this is rough. And then you have those other moments where you just kind of realize, oh, I'm like right where I'm supposed to be, doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing with the people I'm supposed to be doing it with. Just kind of those moments where you realize, man, like you come a long way,
Yeah.
That's
I think
cool.
my biggest fear right now is getting too ahead of myself. It's just new car, new this, new that. Like I need to remain grounded at all times, which I don't. I'm on the phone on calls with CEOs and brand ambassador and book signing and this and that, and things will get tiring sometimes, or I'll get frustrated. And I have to remind myself, like, this is everything you prayed for, man. Like, you're lucky you're alive. Like, you know what I mean? How many friends aren't even here? So it's those moments when I can reflect and think, because you get it. I'm sure, like, it's hard as you get sober to reflect what it was, how bad it really was. That's how we relapse. Like, I can't imagine the shit I used to do. If I start talking about it, it's just like, what was I doing? Like, you really become a different person.
Yeah.
And it's hard to, but when I can really reflect, the gratitude is immense. Like
Yeah, man. I
sitting on
think
a
that's
laptop is crazy.
Yeah, I think gratitude it's one of the best things I think for me to stay sober. If I can constantly remind myself, just be grateful. And I love that you mentioned, I think that's something that a lot of us that did heroin and opiates really have to go through is the people passing. It's crazy, especially, it's always been bad. I remember even before heroin was big, people were mixing Xanax with Norcos or whatever, and they weren't waking up, and then heroin came around, and you started to lose a lot of people. And now with the fentanyl stuff, it's I mean, you just don't have a chance on that stuff. It's
Uh,
crazy. But I think you bring up a great point, and it's kind of the idea of, living your life sober and spreading hope for people as kind of an amends to those that we've lost, and saying, look, you didn't pass over nothing. Like, I'm showing you that I appreciate you, and that I'm able to be sober, and that, it's kind of like an amends thing, is the way I look at it now, with those that passed. Because I remember I would lose friends, and I'd be at the funeral getting high, because I couldn't cope with it. And now I kind of look at it as a tribute to them. I can stay sober today, if that makes sense.
no, I could totally relate. I feel like we came at. I'm sure you can relate to this, but I feel like I say this all the time. Like with survivors guilt, like we came out of war. Like I looked around. It's like me and two of my friends, and like basically no one else is here. Maybe three or four out of like all the people that we knew that did it. Um, yeah, and I struggled in the early sobriety, a lot of survivor guilt. I probably should have done more therapy. I mean, I've done it now through the years, but I remember just being like, why me? Like, I'm happy, but not even, because the guilt is so bad. Like, why am I still the one here? One of the few. And now I am happy of it. But that guilt is something you got to live with. And exactly, I mean, service to others and amends is what kept me alive through that book from my brother, what I do today, what I'm doing here tonight with you, my TikTok. I mean, now my whole business is recovery too. Like, everything.
Yeah, tell me about the business.
So it's really everything recovery, John. I mean, there's brand deals, there's the podcast, Addicts Truth on YouTube and TikTok. The content, I'm now full time content creation on TikTok,
Wow.
and I'm branded with Still Behavior Health. So they're detox, rehab, and inpatient for mind, mental health, and they're located in Boca Raton. And it's a team I believe in. Great owners, and basically, kind of like people like Jersey Jerry does with Diamond Recovery, like brand ambassador role and business development, and we try to just spread awareness and get people the help that they need it. And if it's not us, we get them somewhere that they can go. But keynote speeches, I spoke in front of like some of Congress and CEOs here in Connecticut for fundraising. It's really just it's been, this is all in what, a year and a half, so it's really building itself. But that's why I say I gotta stay grounded because I'm definitely not rich or wealthy. I won't use any of those words on myself, but like I feel it because like even when I made my first dollar, I was like, damn, to make a legal dollar on your own, like I made it. You know, I'm broke as hell at the time, like the
Yeah.
car with no door handle, but I was like, I made it, man. Like
No
just
door
to be able
handle.
to have my own, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um and still like I attain to be wealthy. I would love success to be able to help my family. I don't really care about the money for myself. Like I'm not big on like clothes or really much. Um, but yeah, it's just ventured out in a lot of different ways. Podcast is taking off. The content, the book sales still go. And I'm looking into a lot of things myself. I'd really like to open my own rehab someday with like my own program as well, um, and some kind of virtual thing as well. So kind of just I'm in a weird phase where I completed all that, so I'm doing my work now, but lately it's been pray again and wait for God to direct me, like what's the next big project here to help people, you know?
Yeah, man. That's all exciting stuff. How is the podcast going? How do you like it?
It's good. I did it as just this little like side fun thing and didn't I was like, we'll see, kind of like the book. I was like, we'll see if it helps people, we'll see if it gets any traction, we'll figure it out. It'll be a learning process. I'm not, we talked about it before, I'm not electronically or mechanically inclined, so I didn't even know what to do. I just Googled how do you make a podcast. And recently it's awesome. We're up to 19,000 on TikTok on Addicts Truth. Um, hundreds of thousands of views a week. YouTube is growing. I'm starting to take that more seriously now. I think we have like 394 subscribers. Um, but I'm trying to get down to a schedule. I just fit it into my schedule when I can, but this summer we're trying to do one a week at least. And it's been cool at Jersey Jerry. Some amazing people in recovery in Connecticut, I know. Um, yeah, it's just cool because it's not me for once. And my all my stuff is me and I don't you can only talk yourself out so much. So it's and not everyone can relate to me. So to have a pretty girl or a different looking guy, different people can relate to them instead of just recovery John.
That's cool, man. And how do you, when you're making content and stuff, because and I don't think some people realize that aren't making content a lot. It can be stressful. It could take a lot of your energy. How do you keep your cup full? How do you remain positive? How do you have the energy to create content and do everything you need to do to with your business and the podcast and everything? How do you stay I guess how do you just keep your cup full and how are you able to do so much and still remain sober?
Yeah, that's a great question. I used to be one of those people that was like, content creator is not a job. You're posting. And now there's days where I'm like pulling my hair out, exhausted. People are like, you need rest. Like, it's a lot. Like, I feel like my friend said it, a good friend. He's like, watching you, it's like you're a rapper. Like, you need to get that creative juice. You know what I mean? Like, it comes and it goes. So I've been really trying to almost burnt myself out this year. And now I'm trying to be a lot better with my time, whether it's rest, whether it's not posting for a couple days. Sometimes we talked about like my two most viral is like 3.5 million views and 2.5 million views, I think. And that was when I was burnt out. And I said, you know what? I got to go back to how I did this when I only post if it's on my heart. And I stopped for a couple weeks. And those two were that first week when I came back.
Oh, both of them.
Yeah, in the same week. Um, and they were the most basic, dumbest shit. Like it was just it wasn't any genius answers. It was like one was how do you if you OD if you throw up on alcohol you OD'd, and the other was number one red flag of alcoholic. Like just and for me it can't I see it in my life. So those were things I really dealt with friends or someone, and I was like, this would be a great video. But to answer your question on how I stay kind of cup full, it's my get lifted mentality. For me, I have to pray every day on my knees. I have to do the gym at least 5 days a week. Um, I do things like softball for fun. I try to. I'm studying the Bible now, but I always would read like a little of a book every day, even if it's 2 pages, just something. I believe you have to feed your mind, and like your battery goes up. Recently, I've been working on my sleep schedule because I do so much that it's. there's naps, there's 3 a.m. nights, there's early mornings. So I've been very strict again on my sleep schedule, to make sure, I it's the same as everything else. You can't help someone if you don't have it. So, I still hit my meetings like twice a week. I sponsor guys, but I'm big on eating healthy. So it's just different ways of like spiritually, mentally, physically every day. I got to fill my cup so then I could pour it into other people's. Otherwise, I get burnt out, and it takes a toll. So it's making sure that I could still do me, and never forgetting like that my sobriety's first, because I can't do any of this. If I burn myself out and relapse, can't be recovery John if I'm smoking crack in a parking lot. So got
Yeah.
to. Sometimes I slow myself down. I have all this stuff going on. I'm like, you know what? Let's just pray and hit the gym and go to a meeting today, and like make sure I'm okay.
To keep it simple.
Yeah, exactly.
Have
'Cause
you
all the stuff.
all or I was just gonna ask you, have you always had a relationship with God? Was that something that was started in recovery or
I think I had like I wouldn't say fake, but a fake idea of God when I was younger. It was just like everything good will come to me, um, if I pray on it. And then when I was 12, a friend's dad passed away in front of us from a massive heart attack while we were playing paintball, and I never prayed again. I found my way after anger into addiction at 14 to 17, and never prayed again. Didn't believe in God. Thought and went through a lot. Like even things that weren't my fault were just happening before I hit addiction. I ruptured my spleen on a trampoline, almost died. I got mono, my throat closed. Just I felt like I couldn't. My high school girlfriend cheated on me. I just couldn't get a break, and I kind of resented and blamed God for that. Then when I came into the rooms, everyone started telling me higher power. I was like, oh, here we go again with this. And my sponsor said, why don't you just try and pray? If I give you a line, you try it. So instead, just try this, and you don't have to do it forever. He's like, if it doesn't work, try a different type of prayer, meditation, whatever. And once I started praying, that obsession just lifted. I have not wanted to drink or use. I'm human. We all have that like crazy night of banging and being drunk would be fun, but like that's a fleeting thought. Like it stays for 1 second.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but that obsession has gone away, and I'd say just recently. I mean, I prayed through God getting me through my brother passing and not relapsing, and He did it day to day, signs all time. But honestly, for me, just recently, to be honest with you, I've been going to church since my brother passed, and I'm gonna say literally 5 days ago, I started seriously studying the Bible, and it's been amazing. Just reading 2 pages every morning and being able to kind of like implement that into my life. And honestly, like I really wasn't big on religion. We'll see how it goes, but lately, like a lot of the things I had against like religion, really reading the Bible and understanding has been like, oh, I had a lot of false ideas of what religion said and didn't say. 'Cause people say like, oh, God this or religion that, and you're like, yeah, yeah, that's dumb. You're right, that's wrong. But like when I read it, there's just so much that applies to my life and just being a good person today. So I think the most important thing is they talk about spiritual growth, and it helps me a lot.
Yeah, man. And I'm sorry to hear about your brother. I imagine that was probably one of the hardest times you've had in staying sober, was it? Or what was that like, man? That's got to be rough.
No, I appreciate it. I mean, we all hit different types of really rough things in life. You know what I mean? But for me, it was the one thing I told him, that if that happened, I don't think I would stay sober. And I test that to God, because the first thing I did when the cops left is I went and prayed on my knees and cried and just asked him, like, I was self aware enough that like I couldn't make it harder on my parents. My amends to him and my parents, well, I wouldn't do that anymore. So I was like, God, if anything, just forgive him and his soul, help my parents get through this and my family, and please help me stay sober. And he did that for me. And I said his eulogy. I was able to be there for my parents, my family. Um, he was struggling, a little bit of drinking, mental health stuff. Normal, amazing dude, successful guy. Fight with his girlfriend, drinking at 4 a.m. and decided to end it. But yeah, I mean that's where my growth for God, like God kind of proved himself in my life, and I was like, I need to turn more to him because I gave him a chance. And like for me to be able to do that, my brother was my world. Um, in those days, my cup's not that full. That's what keeps me pushing. Is like you said, our friends, my brother. I gotta have the gratitude that I'm here and to be able to help other people. But that was definitely, yeah. I wouldn't wish that upon my worst enemy at all.
Yeah, man. Jeez, I love the way that you put that though, just finding a way to connect, and sometimes it's those painful experiences that kind of nudge us towards God, and just make us have just a little bit more faith in the whole process and stuff. John, I've had you here for almost an hour. One of the questions I normally ask is kind of geared towards those that are just starting out their sobriety. Maybe they've had like us, a number of relapses before. Or maybe they've been kind of hesitant to have some open mindedness or willingness to dive full into recovery. What would your advice be to those that are just starting their recovery journey? Maybe they've never really been sober before, and they've just gotten out of treatment this week. What would be some advice you'd have for those kinds of people?
Yeah, I mean, number one, open mindedness, and number two, what if it did work out? The first thing I know as an addict, I was always like, that doesn't sound fun. Sobriety. What if I gotta sit there? I never thought to that day I'd be sitting here talking to you. The moments when someone, asks me to sign their book, or I just get a DM saying I got sober watching your videos, it's hard not to cry. I just never imagined this much. So they always say like, life beyond your wildest dreams. I thought that was so corny. But you got to get honest with yourself that it's gotten you wherever you're sitting there today. So give this a try, and it might sound fucked up, but if not, go back to drinking or using. But give it a full. This time in sobriety, I told myself I'm going to give myself 1 year. If my life's not better in a year of fully doing the 12 steps, doing the gym, doing everything in sobriety I can to be better, I'll go back. And here we are today with a life I struggle on even conceiving sometimes that I actually have. So
Yeah.
give it a shot, man.
Dude, I mean, your transformation and starting the videos on social media, and then it getting big, and then writing the book, and you're joking around saying it's going to be number one. All of a sudden, bam, it's number one, and now
Uh,
you're creating content and doing a bunch of cool stuff. What's next for you? I know you touched on some stuff you were kind of thinking of. What's your goal over the next year? Whether it's business related, podcast related, social media, content creation, just what is your goal you think over the next year?
Next year, main goal just always stays the same: to help as many people as I can, inspire people to get help. Beyond that, it's been a lower, and it's kind of like I have a list of them here, but it's really going to be focusing on the podcast for a few months, the social media, and hopefully be able to. I don't know if it's going to be a rehab or some kind of center or some kind of program, but somehow be able to give to the masses the help that I can. Like that people always want the help, but it's hard to sit and answer every person. So how can I help the most amount of people in one way? But just to follow God, see where we end up.
That's cool, man. Hey, John, I appreciate you, brother. Thanks for taking the time. I mean, John's over there. What time is it over there? You're 3 hours ahead of me.
Right now it's 11:20.
Yeah, it's 11:20. The guy's got his own business. He's doing content creation, branding. He's an author. He's online responding to people that need help on social media. You do a lot, John, and I appreciate you taking the time to come on here. And I look forward to seeing any of your videos down the road, and see your treatment center opening up eventually, or maybe another book or whatever. I'll keep my eyes out. But
100%.
thank you, John.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you.
All right, you made it through another episode. Thanks again, and if you'd like to collaborate or come on the show, please email me at thesoberfixpodcast@gmail.com. Have a great day.